This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is Not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey everybody, this is the Cold Hard Truth, Johnny Pierce, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the Cold Hard Truth, Johnny Pierce.
James, thanks for having me. Shout out to all the listeners of the podcast, Wrestling with Entertainment. You're now rocking with the Cold Hard Truth, Johnny Pierce. I've been doing this for a few years now. You can find me on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, which is X now, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, at Johnny Pierce. I'm pretty easy to find. And with the summer circuit coming around, I got some shows coming up in Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Canada. So, very excited.
It sounds like you have a busy summer coming up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of the busiest summers for me going forward, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, yeah. And merchandise?
Merchandise, Pro Wrestling Tees. I have a store. You can search prowrestlingtees.com/Johnny Pierce CHT. A lot of cool t-shirt designs on there. You can order a tank top, you can order a sweatshirt, you can order a long sleeve, you can order a tee. And then at the merch table, I have some additional designs, and starting to venture out into like hatwear, like headwear, hats. I got some winter hats coming in because it's going to be cold this winter.
A cold winter for the Cold Hard Truth.
That's right.
Alright, and you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, let's get into it. You work for Northeast Championship Wrestling and Eastern Township Wrestling Association. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
Absolutely. I first showed up at Northeast Championship Wrestling, which we can abbreviate to NCW, in the year 2021. The month was October, and I made a rookie mistake of not bringing my gear bag, which if any of you rookie wrestlers are listening, or anyone looking to get into the wrestling business, you always want to bring your gear bag with you just in case. They had given me an opportunity to be in a battle royal, I believe, Halloween themed, of course, with a Halloween costume. But since I did not have the appropriate attire, I declined respectfully. It wasn't until a year later, in October of 2022, that I started getting consistently booked by NCW, and I'm now coming up on working for them for almost the better part of 2 years consistently, and it's shaping up to be a very interesting end of the year, with 2024 coming to an end and 2025 right around the corner. The other company, ETWA, Eastern Townships Wrestling Association, they really had a big hand in getting me started on the independent wrestling scene by providing me the opportunities to work the live shows and giving me the platform that I have with them. That started in September of 2022, and I've been working with them ever since. We started out in the Newport, Vermont area and moved to Derby, Vermont, and have had, I want to say 3 shows in Stansted, Quebec, Canada. And I'm looking forward to, the fall season where we go back to the Newport venue for the first time in a long time, and going back to Stansted, Quebec, Canada, once or twice before the end of the year.
Okay. Now, one name that you wrestled that sticks out to me particularly is a one Logan Black. Big respected name on the independent circuits, obviously a New York name. What was your experience wrestling Logan Black?
I had a great experience working Logan Black. He was in the ring. He helped me out a lot. I would consider myself green at the time. And in the early parts of the match, I had, I wouldn't say an injury, but I had banged up my leg on a part of the ring that wasn't covered, and it hurt a lot, but we were able to work through it. I would love to do it again. There's nothing like, you'll hear people throw this around, 2 big meaty men slapping meat. So, I think seeing two bigger guys that have the size that we do and can do some real cool things inside the ring, who wouldn't want to see that? And I'd love to do it again.
Hell yeah. Now, this person was a friend, now an enemy, Diego Alvarez. We'll talk about the friend aspect before we get to the enemy aspect.
Sure.
You two were tag team champions, and just knowing your history and the roller coaster of the roller coaster you've had in your career, what did it kind of mean to you to capture those tag team championships?
To answer your question, I think it solidified a lot of things that him and I have known for a while, and that is, we wanted to, whenever a company puts their faith in you to carry the tag team titles, that's something that's earned and not given. I think, speaking for myself, I had some misconceptions on what it was to be a champion, and then when I became one, I realized, everything it took to be a champion. I had a new appreciation for what it meant to be a champion. Him and I had started off as competitors where we would train together at the wrestling school, and it was healthy competition at first. We never dreamt or talked about being paired together as a tag team. So when the opportunity was given to us, we figured we would just, hit the ground running and try to take the ball into the end zone, so to speak. And when we won the tag titles, it was special to do it with him, given the fact that we had known each other for so long. And both of us were just starting out our careers at the same time. So we had big chips on our shoulders and a lot to prove to ourselves and to our peers.
You're definitely one of the better tag team names out there, the Cold Hard Guapos.
Oh yeah, we came up with that one together. Me being the Cold Hard Truth and him being Papi Guapo. So we figured we would combine the two monikers together.
So, obviously you had success with Diego. Why'd you turn on them?
So we had a lot of success early on, and as the days and the weeks and the months continued to go, that early success that we experienced turned into a lot of shortcomings, a lot of losses, a lot of failures. And I strongly felt at the time that he was the weak link in the Cold Hard Guapos. When we started out, I had, carried out a role where I was kind of watching his back, and you can see it in the matches. Anytime he was in a compromised position, I would, take the bullet for him.
Right.
And it just became an issue because we were supposed to be one of the best tag teams in the area in the Northeast, and we were supposed to win, and we were supposed to go on to challenge for any tag titles that we were around. And after losing so many times, that didn't seem like it was going to be a reality. So I made a decision to split from the tag team. It was a business decision, and it really wasn't personal.
Well, the rivalry did accumulate to a steel cage match, which you won via referee stoppage, no?
Yes, it did. I was competing in a tag team that was one of those thrown together tag teams. My partner was Mr. Elegant Preston Douglas. We were in the midst of beating B.A. Tatum and Cletus, and I had just hit my finishing move, the run-it-up power slam from the top rope on Cletus. So myself and my appointed tag partner, Preston Douglas, were poised for the win, and my former tag partner, Diego, ruined the match by interfering and attacking me, but in doing so, it provided us the win anyway. So when the locker rooms came in to split us up, the decision was made to put us inside of a steel cage so that there would be no more outside interference. And I went and got myself someone who I could count on to watch my back, who is the Hellcat Selena Hekate. And she was able to get inside the steel cage and slap Diego in the face.
All right. So, it's clear to say that Johnny Pierce is a singles wrestler from now on.
I'll say that I am a singles wrestler from now on, and you can't in wrestling. You always say never say never. So I won't say no to tag team wrestling. I just have to be with the right partner, someone who is going to watch my back and have my best interests in mind. The one thing I will say about the Cold Hard Guapos is that even though things went the way they did, if the right opportunity presented itself, because it's a business, him and I may end up coming back together again because, we have our differences, and it is a rivalry, and there is, some unfinished business there. We know deep down that we're one of the most dominating tag team forces that, quite potentially the business has ever seen. You put him and me together, and great things happen.
Okay, so maybe a return of the Cold Hard Guapos.
I mean, you can't rule it out. I don't see it happening in the foreseeable future, but like they say, you never know. So I won't dismiss it, but things would have to be different this time around.
Okay. Now, another name that you've been in the ring with is a One Dirty Dango. Obviously, WWE signed at one point. What was the experience like wrestling him?
It's not just that he was WWE signed at one point. He had actually defeated Chris Jericho at the biggest show in professional wrestling, WrestleMania. So when the match was announced, I had, I believe, about a month or two to prepare for it. And when I received the word that was happening, the nerves kicked in. A little bit of the fight or flight mode came in. I told everyone that I knew that was happening, and the best part of it all was that it happened about 20 minutes from where I grew up. So I had family and friends in the crowd, and all of the nerves subsided when the day of the show, when I was able to go out there and do my thing. I think we told a good story, and the fans were entertained, and that's really what matters the most. I almost beat him, and he came away with the victory by the skin of his teeth. So even though I don't really believe in moral victories, or I can go around saying I lost to Dirty Dango, I got beat by Dango. If you ask the people there, and if you ask Dango himself, he barely got away with that win. And if we were to do the dance again, pun intended, if we were to do the dance again, I strongly believe that after going through that experience, I would come out on the other side victorious. It's done a lot for my career to share the ring with someone like that, and it was one of the best days of my entire life, I can confidently say.
Hell yeah. And you mentioned you knew about that match about a month or two in advance. Is that something that you kind of prefer to know that far in advance, or do you kind of prefer getting to the show and finding out who your opponent is, or maybe like the day before?
I prefer to know as far ahead as I possibly can. It helps me sink my teeth into it. It helps me not only mentally prepare, it helps me prepare, with getting into the best physical shape that I can be in. It helps me spread the word and try to get some people that may not go to that show. I might get an extra fan or two in those seats. It's definitely something I don't really prefer showing up to the event the day of and finding out who I'm working and where we are on the card, or like all those things. But if the promoter can give me enough advance notice, I would prefer that, so I can go about my business, go about my routine, and just be the best version of myself that I can be that day.
So did you know in advance that you were going to steal that kid's bike during that match?
Absolutely not. Given the match stipulation of being false count anywhere, Texas tornado tag, things kind of just happen. And when I saw the bike, something told me to ask him if I could borrow it. And when he said no, I said, okay, just give me a ride. And when I saw the pegs on the back, I hopped on the pegs. And between you and I, James, I know I'm 300 pounds, and I know that certain bikes can't really support that body weight, never mind the child who's driving the bike on top of my body weight. So I did my best to ride the bike and then perform the move. And I'd like to say the clip went viral, but it didn't. And who knows? Someday I might do something on a wrestling show that does catch the attention of the internet wrestling community. I think so.
I definitely.
If you do know that before that match happened, there was a singles match with myself and Gabriel Sky where he rode in on a horse, and I almost fought the horse because there's a clip where I started to approach the horse. Now I was inside the ring and the horse was outside the ring, and I got too close for comfort, and the horse almost kicked Gabriel Sky off, and that wouldn't have been good.
Ooh. Yeah. And it was quite a visual seeing you on the back of that bike, just getting a ride from that kid to perform a clothesline.
It was a big boot. I call it the laced up boot. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just kind of happened the way it did, and if I could go back, I'd do it the same way.
Hell yeah. Alright. Another big name that you've been in the ring with is a one brutal Bob Evans. What was
Sure have.
What was the experience like wrestling Uncle Bob?
So when you say what was the experience like, that kind of narrows it down to one. But I've actually shared the ring with him now, man, like 3 times, and possibly like a 4th time, but definitely 3 times. If you're referring to Middleborough Mania and my first time sharing the ring with him in a singles match, he kissed me, and so I made a song about it, and I sang it on another podcast, so I'd be happy to sing it for you if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kissed Bob Evans, and I liked it, the taste of his cherry chapstick. So now every time the Katy Perry song comes on, I think of the time that Bob Evans kissed me. Very knowledgeable, easy to work with, definitely entertaining. The last time we shared the ring was at I believe it was at a charity event in Vermont for a wrestling team at an elementary school, I believe. He came in last minute and made, the singles match that I was going to have turned into a fatal 4-way. We told the story, and it worked. He always provides insight that I wouldn't get from almost anyone else, and one of the few genuine, kind-hearted people in the business.
Now, like wrestling somebody like Brutal Bob, obviously a veteran, skilled pro wrestler. Wrestling him the first time, compared to the last time you wrestled him, did you see any maybe big or significant differences in yourself?
It just gets easier. The first time I was green, and when you're green, you can get a little lost out there. But
Right.
He was there to pull me back in, and each time it's gotten that much easier. Everything to him, like when he explains it, it just seems so simple. And the newer people in wrestling tend to like overcomplicate even the most simplest things. So each time I find it getting that much easier, and I take away so much more when I get to do this with him, when I get to have those experiences.
All right. Can you tell us about the Truth or Dare challenge?
Sure. NCW took a little bit of a break after WrestleFest. So in WrestleFest, I wasn't able to defeat old school cool Corey Michael for the Ring of Thrones crown for the second time. And I had struck up a deal with my manager, Mr. Kevin Castro, before the show, that if I wasn't able to pull that off, we were going to go into business with each other. So he turned on his group, which was the Hoods, Davey Cash, Shay Cash, Chris Pyro, and Cassius Cash. And he joined with me. He took a group of like 4 people, turned his back on all of them, and sided with me, which some people might say, why would you break away from 4 people to join up with one? And I destroyed everyone in the ring. It was the Hoods and the DCMC after their tag match. I decimated them, and Castro has been accompanying me to the ring ever since on NCW. So what happened after the break was we announced the Truth or Dare challenge, where Mr. Castro just kind of laid out the gauntlet for the NCW management team to find me the biggest and the best, so that I could display my skills. And we figured we would start with people who don't normally, the ones that aren't normally in that locker room or on the roster. And Perry Von Vicious was the first one to accept the challenge. Each time after that, it's somebody new and somebody's accepting this truth or dare challenge, but it usually ends the exact same way with my hand raised high. And we're also writing a book, the Book of the Cold Hard Truth. Each chapter, I come out, winning, and we're gonna ride that all the way to WrestleFest.
No, Kevin Castro, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were loosely associated with one of his groups, back in the day, no?
Yes, I was. So I first cut my teeth at New England Ring Gladiators, NRG in Fairhaven. They had paired me with a group called the Cornerstone at the time. It was Scott Levesque, Eric Dillon, Sean Candido, Kevin Castro, and myself. And for the better part of, I believe, 8 months, I would manage that group. And when I finally got the call to join them in the ring, it was inside of a War Games steel cage match with the Hoods versus the Cornerstone, and that's where Johnny Pierce, the Cold Hard Truth, debuted inside that steel cage. After the match, when the Cornerstone we lost, the group disbanded, and Kevin Castro probably made the best decision of his life by, teaming up with me, and we just kind of broke away and started doing our own thing.
Okay, so it is kind of like a full circle moment that you found each other again, no?
Yeah, I had stepped away from the company in January of this year, and he decided to stay and get back together with Scott Levesque. They had a group called the Overtakers with John Steele, Dirty Dutch Adams, Scott Levesque, and Kevin Castro. And when I saw the writing on the wall of him, siding with these other guys, I figured I would step away. The opportunity kind of presented itself at December of 23 at WrestleFest, where even though it was with a different company, we figured we would team up again because that's what's best for business. He talks, and I go out there and beat the crap out of everybody.
Good combination.
Yeah.
And of course you mentioned Perry Von Vicious, big name, just came back from a long stint in Japan. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I had seen Perry Von Vicious perform before I was actively wrestling. He would come out, in a suit and tie with money, logos, dollar signs, and
yes,
this was at Lucky Pro Wrestling in Clinton, Massachusetts. And I didn't really think a whole lot of him back then. He hadn't gone to Japan yet. And then I started getting in the ring myself, and then you start hearing, oh, hey, Perry Von Vicious and Rip Bison are over in Japan killing it. And then you see some of your buddies that you came up with start to get, hey, at this promotion, this person's facing Rip Bison and this person's facing Perry Von Vicious. So when the opportunity presented itself for me to get in the ring with Perry Von Vicious, I was very excited. He had just gotten back from Japan. I think I was the first person that he wrestled against from coming back from Japan. Some of the things we did, I think, would have been better received in Japan because I know it's a different style over there.
right.
But, I think he bit off a little bit more than he could chew. Without sounding too braggadocious, NCW is pretty much my show. And I don't think anyone can just leave and come back and expect to defeat me with the momentum that I have going. Like I said, it's coming up on 2 years strong. I haven't missed a single show. I haven't been injured. I haven't been sick. I haven't had a flat tire. I've been a staple in the locker room, and I'm not looking back. I'm not going to take one step forward just to take two steps back. You got to be at the best. You got to bring your best to get past me. And he was good. He just wasn't great that day. I was great, and that's what happens when, good meets great. You fall short, and I hit the run-up power slam on Perry Von Vicious. As of a few weeks ago, he was supposed to have a rematch with me at NCW in Bristol, Rhode Island at Red, White, and Bruised, but he didn't make it. So you can chalk that up to whatever you want, but after he lost to me once, you got to think he was a little trepidatious, a little scared, a little spooked to face the truth. Some people can't face the truth in a world full of lies.
All right. And even if you did get a flat tire, you just steal some kid's bike and ride to the event.
Oh, I'll find a way. I'll steal somebody's bike. I got friends, believe it or not. I got friends that'll pick me up. I got Uber in my phone. I'll get an Uber. There's taxi cab services. You can rent a scooter. There's rental cars. I worked for rental car companies in the past. You're gonna have to. There are not many scenarios where I wouldn't be at one of my bookings.
And you mentioned, the match between you and Perry. It would have been received really well in Japan. Is that something that you have aspirations to, going to Japan?
At first, when I started pro wrestling, I did not consider anything Japan related, for the simple fact that, and this is like pre-pandemic. I get kind of scared when I'm out of my comfort zone. There's the culture shock. I had a fear of flying, and it was a lot to wrap my head around. So the easiest thing to do would be to say, no, I'm not interested. Now, as I've progressed in my journey and you start watching documentaries and talking to people and learning more about the business, there's a buddy of mine that's over there right now who wrestles under the name Sigma. And he told me that, they would be happy to have a guy like me with my size and strength and abilities in Japan. So for me to rule it out now, that's just not the case. I'm definitely more interested now than I ever have been of potentially going to Japan to see what it would be like for a few months. I don't have plans yet, but I've definitely thought about it and talked about it. So I think, just like anything in life, the more that you think about doing something and the more you talk about wanting to do something, you eventually do it because you drive yourself crazy. So yeah, someday I think I will go to Japan and wrestle there.
And shout out to Sigma, a friend of the show, killing it in Japan right now.
He's killing it in Japan. He's killing it anywhere he goes. He's got really cool t-shirt designs, cool catchphrases. He's got a cool character, cool wrestling gear. Him and I have shared the road plenty of times, too many times to count. I wish him nothing but the best. And I almost beat him at an Impulse Pro Wrestling show on New Year's Eve, but he spit blue mist in my face, so I ended up looking like Papa Smurf.
First time a Sigma exhaled something rather than inhaling it.
Yeah, he exhaled a lot in my face that day, and it was tough to get that ink off, but I got it off. I just have a lasting memory that I don't think I'll ever get over, is the day I became a Smurf.
Well, maybe you could run it back in Japan. I do think
maybe, and I'll spit some mist in his face.
I do think big bad kaiju Johnny Pierce would be big in Japan, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I stand all of 6'6", and I step on the scale, and I'm 304 pounds. So knowing the Japanese audience from things I've heard, and like I said, I've watched a good amount of documentaries on pro wrestling. I think I could give them something that would entertain people, and I know they have a different style out there, and if I can adapt my style to meet the needs of the crowd, then who knows? Who knows, man? It's hard to say. It's hard to say that I wouldn't see success in Japan, because I think I could, and I hope to do that someday.
Alright, let's get to our next segment, and that is Johnny's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Road story. I can tell you a little bit of some crazy road story that comes to mind. I can't get too much into specifics because I don't want to, badmouth anybody.
Okay.
But I will say this. It was October of last year. A group of people filled up a car with me, and we were going to Canada. Now, if you know anything about Border Patrol,
yes,
you know not to mess with the Border Patrol.
Correct.
So we had myself, Selena Hekate, Sigma, Diego, Alvarez, Sigma's dog, Lord Filbert.
Yes.
And we brought a guest with us who we were training with at our wrestling school, who was just coming with us to network, meet and greet, help with the show. He wasn't participating on the show per se, but he's a good friend of ours, and we figured if he wanted to come into Canada with us and take in the experience and meet the ETWA management team and just try to get his name out there and experience something that he hadn't experienced before, new promotion, new country, etc., etc. So it wasn't the first time that the four of us had crossed the border for this company, but this was the first time that our guest had crossed the border for this company. So we kind of knew ahead of time what to expect, and we knew that we had to be on our best behavior. Not to say that we're not. It's just that the Border Patrol, they don't play around. They don't want anything in the car that shouldn't be in the car. So at the time, Sigma was the Heritage Champion, and Diego and I were the ETWA Tag Team Champions. So you have, out of your entire show, with the heavyweight title, the Heritage title, and the tag titles, you have 3 out of 4 of your titles in one car. And they were to be defended that night. So when we got to the border, an incident happened that did not involve the talent. It involved the guest. We were held up at the border for what seemed to be like forever, and we felt like we weren't even going to make the show at one point. Cooler heads prevailed, and we were able to cross. We were late to call time, which did not reflect well on myself, my tag partner, and Sigma. We said our sorries, 1,000 apologies. This is what happened. Won't happen again. They had threatened to strip us of the titles. They said we were thinking about just stripping you of your titles if you weren't going to make it. And we were like, listen, you don't have to do that. We're here. We're ready to go. Like, let us do our thing. It just so happened that we dropped the tag team titles that night. It had nothing to do with the incident at the border, but we spoke to our friend about it, and we let him know how embarrassed we were that happened. But it's all a growing experience. Nothing was done maliciously, and it's just one of those things. You think people have common sense, but sometimes they don't.
And I'm assuming you can't confirm or deny that this incident took place at 4:20 p.m.
I cannot confirm nor deny that this incident happened at a certain time on the clock.
All right. Good bizarre adventure.
I can confirm that myself, my tag partner, and the Heritage Champion were not involved in any of the shenanigans whatsoever. You can ask them, you can ask everyone in that car, you can ask the Border Patrol staff. We were all innocent in that regard.
All right. Now, you mentioned her. Can you tell us about the advantages and disadvantages of being in the same profession as your significant other?
Absolutely. So, Selena Hekate and I met in 2021 at a wrestling school. She was getting out of a relationship, and I was dating somebody else. She was dating somebody else, and one day when I had made an announcement that I was going to be pursuing other ventures at another wrestling school closer to where I was staying, she told me that she had feelings for me, and I confessed that I also had feelings for her, so we decided to date each other. Advantages of it is that we're a team, and it's not just something you can see like in the ring. We have not teamed together yet. I know intergender matches are more at the forefront now than they ever have been, and her and I have talked about teaming up together in an intergender match or whatever the other team wants to throw at us. We would definitely tag together. She has valeted me to the ring, but I haven't had a chance to valet her yet. But as far as advantages go, whenever one of us needs to lean on the other person for support, whether it be moral support, financial support, transportation, you name it, we have that ability. We've been able to open some doors that probably, might not be so easily to open because it's kind of a package deal. You book one of us, the other one's coming along. You book both of us, you kill two birds with one stone. She is now getting the go-ahead to take more bookings, so people are going to see her name more often, hear her name more often. There's going to be more matches of hers going on the internet, and she'll create more of a buzz in the months to follow. Disadvantages. I'm not allowed to swear on here, right?
Oh no, you can swear. Say whatever the fuck you like.
Swear. Okay. Well, every man, woman, child thinks they have a shot with my girlfriend. So, there's been times that certain people who will remain nameless have found their way into her direct messages in her inbox via smartphones, tablets, laptops, you name it. The fingers are typing, and they say some strange things to her, and some are very unprovoked and uncomfortable. And then there's times where we will be at wrestling shows and strange things will be said to her, whether it's a fan or one of the workers or one of the staff members. There's always something that's said to her that gets back to me. So I would definitely consider that a disadvantage. It doesn't happen to me as often as it happens to her. I've only had that happen a few times. I could probably count on one or two hands the times where someone has, said something that just was off-putting to me in a manner that, it's sexual, it's perverted, it's all these things. So I would definitely say the mental aspect of us working together in this industry is a disadvantage at times. So we try to just stay professional. but I can say that I've had to speak to a few people about the things that they've said to her.
I gotcha. It sounds like that trainee just doesn't know when to stop.
No, I mean, when you're training at a wrestling school, it's a male-dominated sport, so
Right.
you'll be around a few girls a few times a week, and I think it's natural to feel a certain way, or if somebody's talking to you and they talk to you enough times, you think that they like you, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it's just growing pains. There's some younger guys in wrestling that really haven't figured out who they are as men yet. And then there's some older guys in wrestling that are super uncomfortable in their own skin and think that they can say anything that they want to say and there's no consequences. But I'm not the type to like threaten anybody physically or verbally for that matter. But I know a few things. I know a lot. I know more than I should, and it's something that we handle ourselves. We keep a lot internally, and I don't see it really being too much of an issue. If it was, I would handle it.
I gotcha. Now, you are the cold hard truth. Can you tell us the last time the cold hard truth lied?
Well, that would be never. The cold hard truth prides himself on not only always telling the truth, but seeking out truth wherever he can find it. I can say that I have never told a lie as long as I've been in the professional wrestling business and in the industry, but I hear a lot of lies being told, whether it's to me or to other people.
All right. So, George Washington and Johnny Pierce, honest men, never tell a lie.
That's right. Yes, and I think that might, if you could add one more person to the list, it would be Kevin Castro. So we got George Washington, Kevin Castro, and Johnny Pierce. These three men are the truth tellers, the greatest truth tellers to ever live. I'll say that.
That is a very interesting Mount Rushmore right there.
Yeah, and we just need to find one more person. I thought it could have been, Diego Alvarez, but he proved himself to be quite the liar. So we're still leaving that space reserved for a special person. Who knows? It could be the Hellcat Selena Hekate. We'll see.
Is that something that you look for in a tag team partner? Has to be honest?
I won't say that because, I am the cold hard truth, so it's hard to find someone that's as honest as me. I think we found each other, Kevin Castro and I, and we just clicked. But what I look for in a tag partner is someone who's going to meet me halfway 50-50. As soon as it becomes 51-49 or vice versa, as soon as I feel like I'm putting too much of my time and effort and energy into the tag team and it's not being reciprocated, that's where I start to feel a little untrustworthy with my tag partner. Can I really depend on this person? Are they really going to have my back when I need them, when the chips are down? I oftentimes refer to something called trench warfare, and that is, who are you going to want next to you in the trenches, fighting alongside you?
I gotcha. Now, when I do my research, maybe I read into things a little too much. So you could correct me if I'm wrong here. South Park fan?
Big South Park fan. I try to, get inspiration anywhere I can. So if you don't like South Park, or you don't like the fact that Johnny Pierce likes South Park, it's really not my problem, because I'm going to use any sort of pop culture reference that I can to push my narrative. And I find myself if not the best, then one of the best internet trolls. So I will use South Park references to try to get under the skin of anyone that I want. I feel like if I can generate some sort of reaction or a buzz with whatever material I'm using, then I'm doing my job. And oftentimes I find myself reverting back to South Park because it is just so funny. And I relate to a lot of the comedy on there. Growing up, watching every single episode multiple times. The South Park movie, I can sing every song from the South Park movie from start to finish without missing a beat. So,
fun fact about that movie, there's only a certain amount of curse words you could say in a movie before you go from R to NR. And they were smart enough to have one curse word less than it
that's
had
amazing.
To be.
They're genius. These guys are geniuses.
Yes.
There's the other episode where they swore a ridiculous amount of time. They had a little ticker in the corner. I think it was like 163 and a half, or 168 and a half by the end of the episode. Just amazing work those guys do. I hope the show never ends, but if it does, I know a guy who knows a guy.
What's your favorite South Park reference?
Oh man, favorite one ever? I think it's the one where Cartman is on the Maury Povich show trying to convince everyone what a badass he is, and he's like, whatever, I do what I want.
Is that also your favorite episode?
There's so many to name. One of my favorites is the baseball episode where they're trying to lose because they don't want to play baseball all summer and they keep winning. And Randy keeps getting into fights with the other team's parents because, my dad used to go to my baseball games, and it's pretty funny, like being on the other side where, I could go umpire a baseball game, and you'll see some of the parents, the way they talk about, the other team's players, and that's a good one. They get to like the state finals, and Randy has to fight Bat Dad, and that's one of my favorites for sure.
The Human Centipede episode. Yes.
Yes,
or no?
That's a good one. Yes. I don't think I have the stomach to watch the real movie because I haven't yet. But they did a really good job with that one. When Cartman at the end of the episode gets his comeuppance, that's one of the best scenes.
When he gets struck down by lightning.
He did. He cussed out the big man upstairs and got struck by lightning, and it's like, how fitting,
All right. That brings us to the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about Johnny Pierce. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
So when I'm making an entrance to the ring, I use 2 Linkin Park songs. The first one found me when I was shuffling through songs at a weight room, and I had skipped every time this song came up in the shuffle. I had skipped it, so I was in the process of trying to find an entrance song that spoke to me as a wrestling character, and the one that did at the time was "Lying From You" by Linkin Park. So that would have to be on the soundtrack.
Okay.
It definitely talks about lying and truth and all these things. The other Linkin Park song that I use sometimes is called "Fighting Myself," so that would have to be on there. And my girlfriend recommended a song to me that I've been using at World of Hurt Wrestling. The band is 3 Days Grace, and the song is called "World So Cold." And so with the concept of truth and lies, and the gimmick in the moniker being cold hard truth, that's referencing how cold the world is. And so it's really easy for me to come out the curtain to World So Cold by 3 Days Grace. I would think those would be perfect candidates for a soundtrack of the movie of Johnny Pierce, all those songs.
Hey, when Linkin Park's a part of it, you're not going to get many objections from me. Definitely a solid
No.
2 picks.
Yes.
Alright, now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays Johnny? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
It would have to be my older brother. He is 36. His nickname growing up in our house was JP, which is short for his first name and his middle name if you put them together. My real name is also JP when you abbreviate the first name with the middle name. So when he got the nickname JP, and then I was born, you can't have two JPs running around your house, or a JP1 or a JP2. So he got JP, and I got the nickname Buddha. And that was because when I hopped out of my mother's womb, my father told the doctors and told my mother that I had the belly of a Buddha. So it just kind of stuck. And when I got into pro wrestling, I figured my brother and I grew up huge wrestling fans. So I wanted to pick a name that I could easily connect to. And when you shorten Johnny Pierce, you get JP. I have some t-shirt designs with JP on them. So I just released Johnny Pierce in your house shirts. So It says JP in your house, which is obviously from the WWF pay-per-view In Your House. So every time I come out from Green Mountain Wrestling, the song plays and it's like Johnny Pierce in the house. And that's been catching on with people. On my ring gear, I wear these shorts that say the cold hard truth on them, and instead of putting a number on the shorts, you could put 2 letters. So you could either put 2 numbers or 2 letters, and I chose to put JP. So if anyone was to play me in the movie, it would have to be my older brother, but he would have to put on some serious muscle mass in order to really portray the character, and I don't know if he would be up to the task.
All right, so Johnny's big bro on standby to play Johnny Pierce.
Yeah, on retainer.
Right. Now that we have you cast it, kind of, sort of, let's, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you in your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
Well, one of my aunts would have to play the role of my mother, because she's been a big help to me growing up and even supporting me in my adult years, whether I'm on a basketball court or in a wrestling ring. Every time I need her for any type of support, she's there. So I would have one of my aunts play the role of my mother. Wouldn't know if it was from my father's side or my mother's side. I would assume my mother's side. So one of my aunts would play my mother. My father, I would probably have to go again to my mother's side and ask my uncle-in-law to play him, because they're just they're so tan, and I would need someone just as tan as my father to play my father. So my uncle-in-law would be a good candidate for that. And I could probably convince my cousin from my father's side to play the role of my older brother. So I would definitely start with my family and see who would want to do that.
Okay. I think that it's going to be a family affair.
Yeah, I mean, I do keep a small circle of friends. As I've gotten older, it's gotten smaller and smaller. And that's just because, people kind of just go their separate ways, and they start families, and they move, and they do different things with their lives and you reconnect and whatnot. But family never really goes away. And they have your back when you need it. So I would start there and see what I could come up with.
All right. Well, it's definitely sounding like a blockbuster, and you could pre-order the tickets now.
How about we pre-order some wrestling show tickets and just to be on the safe side?
Oh yeah. Now on to a controversial subject.
Before we go, I just throw this in. I just got contacted earlier today to be in a movie. This is the second time that's happened. The first time it fell through. I got contacted in November of last year to be in a movie, but they just stopped responding to my attempts to reach out, so I would assume that they went in a different direction. Today, I got contacted to be in another movie, so I'm going to be figuring out if that's going to happen or not, but it's always something that I've wanted to do, and it kind of goes hand in hand with pro wrestlers. You see a lot of pro wrestlers making the jump to doing movies, a lot of stunt double roles and stuntman roles. So right now it sounds like I might be the main character of some sort of X-Men fan film called The Juggernaut.
Ooh.
So we'll see what happens.
Okay. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No worries. Thank you for sharing that bit of information.
Yeah.
All right. On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza.
Hey, I'm all about controversy, so fire away.
Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I'll just say no. Hard no. Pineapple's a fruit. Keep the fruits off the pizza. Now, if you're asking me about Hawaiian pizza, I'll take the ham, but I can do without the pineapple. It's a big no. I don't want pineapple on my pizza. I don't even like pineapple by itself.
Okay, so very anti-pineapple on pizza.
Definitely.
All right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
My spirit Pokemon?
Yes.
I loved Pikachu growing up, and if I was playing Super Smash Brothers, I'd definitely kick people's butts with Pikachu, but I'm definitely more of like a Charizard. Reason being is like, you meet Charmander early on, and they tell you like, you got to keep its flame lit, and I think the one in the show, they found it in the rain, and its flame almost went out. Right. I think I can relate to the Charmander, where it's like I was, how like everyone's like, oh, Johnny Pierce so big, so strong, so tough, all these things, right? So like when I was a kid, I was short, I was fat, and I got made fun of, I got picked on, I got bullied, and I didn't even grow until I was 18 years old, around 17, 18. So I had like the latest growth spurt, and then people just kind of stopped bullying me when I grew and got taller and then kind of filled out. But I relate a lot to the Charmander being small, and then as you get older you're Charmeleon, and then you become Charizard. And Charizard was like, to me, he was like the final boss, and in the movie when Mewtwo was running ruckshot, Charizard stood up to him, and I think I have a lot of that fire of Charizard inside of me.
Hell yeah, for sure. And you can actually play as Charizard in Smash Bros. Now.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the last two Smash Bros. He's a playable character.
I'll have to try that out sometime.
Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
I don't think I do, and I don't even think I want to take a stab at it because I don't want to, disrespect Tracy Smothers or the acronym Thug, but you can go ahead and tell me.
T is for terrible, H
Terrible.
is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a Doug can't spell.
G is for jail?
Yes, because a Doug can't spell.
There must be a lot of thugs in pro wrestling because I know a lot of people that can't spell.
Well, we love the late great Tracy Smothers, and we're trying to keep the memory alive on the show.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace.
Now, weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
I would consider it, and here's why. They would say about Ric Flair that he was so good he could wrestle a broomstick, right?
Right.
I have actually wrestled a broomstick, not in a match or like in front of a crowd. I was goofing around with the boys, and I showed them how you can do an international with a broomstick if you're good enough to perform the moves by yourself. And the concept is, there's a drill you can do at training class. I don't think many people do it, and it's not my favorite. But you wrestle a ghost. So you get in there and you pretend that there's someone across the ring from you, and you start with the collar and elbow tie up, and you just go. So I had done that once or twice when I was coming up in 2020, and it's one of the hardest things you can do, because you still have to, get your charisma in, get your character over. You can't just go through the drill just to go through the drill. You have to treat it like it's an actual match. And so I've done that in the drill against the ghost, and then I found a broomstick because you sweep the ring, and I think maybe at a training class or like before or after a show, I've grabbed the broomstick and I've done the hip toss, and the broomstick will give me the hip toss, and I've done drop kick, and I've done the body slam, and I've done all these things with the broomstick. So I would do a Rock. I would wrestle a Rock, and we could bill it as Johnny Pierce versus the Rock.
Hell yeah. And just for context, there's a wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Well, I don't know if I'd want to do that for 15 minutes or 2 weeks, but man, my hat goes off to that guy.
Yes, well, he did not win the match, so,
Of course not. I mean, rock, paper, scissors, shoot, right?
Right. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I mean, everybody should have a 5-year plan. I used to kind of go through life and not really plan for the future, kind of just take things as they came and live each day by day, and not try to worry about what's going to happen a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. But, everyone should have a general idea of what they want to do, where they want to go. So if you're asking me where I want to be right now in 5 years, I will say I want to be signed to a company that, has television rights. When I first got into wrestling, I had always thought that I wanted to go to the WWE and I didn't want to go anywhere else. But as the years have progressed, more and more companies are starting to gain notoriety, whether it be AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact. We had talked about Japan earlier. I do want to do this for a profession. I do want to do this for a career. And I think if I keep my head focused and continue to keep the nose to the grindstone and get a little bit better today than I was yesterday, and go as hard as I can with everything that I know, and the people in the industry that can help me with advice and guidance. I think I can make it on the big stage, and the ultimate coup de grace would be a WWE contract, and that's what I'm trying to put out there in the atmosphere. Someday I'd like to climb that ladder and win the Money in the Bank. Someday I'd like to outlast 29 other competitors and win the Royal Rumble and go on to main event WrestleMania. I want to have Johnny Pierce WrestleMania moment. So I'm hoping that by the end of year 5, that contract comes my way, and we'll see what happens after that. I mean, the worst thing that somebody can do is get complacent and content, and then get the contract and kind of just, okay, I'm here, and I'm just going to be one of the guys. Like I'm not going to be that type of person. If I a gas mask and people can make fun of me if they want to, like why are you wearing a gas mask? What the hell? Da 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 da. You know what? I wanted to send mind games his way that this wasn't just a regular steel cage match. I was treating it as almost like the apocalypse.
All right. And I'm that match is definitely on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah, Green Mountain does a great job putting matches up on YouTube, so that's definitely there.
And I will grab those two matches from YouTube, and I will put a link to them in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox for anybody that hasn't seen them, wants to see them, wants to re-see them after this interview.
You could do me a favor and throw on that third one we talked about with the Falls Count Anywhere, Ultimate Powers, Gabe Sky versus Memory Museum and me. I stole the bike, so if people are looking for an entertaining match that you can get some laughs out of, because there are some funny moments. I bet our knees got body slammed into some mud. They went into the bouncy house. Yeah, that could be a good candidate too. I know it generated quite a buzz on YouTube and on Twitter.
Oh yeah, if that's on YouTube as well, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that just happened a couple weeks ago.
All right, perfect. I will put that in the description as well.
Very cool.
All right, and since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
8 questions of doom?
Yes. This is our speed
and the
round.
sound effect. The suspense is killing me. Let's do this.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
You know, I get asked that question a lot. I was born ready, so yeah, I'm ready.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Randy Orton.
Worst wrestler.
Man. I wish I could say pass, but I won't. Probably Shockmaster.
Okay. I will accept that answer. You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
That is tough. I personally would love to end the career of John Cena. So I'll just go ahead and say that. It's if he loses, he can no longer wrestle for the company ever again, or any. As a matter of fact, any company. He has to hang up the boots, and he can't put them back on ever.
Not even for the money TNA run.
No, only Comic-Con. If he wants to go do like a meet and greet, you want to get in gear, go ahead. No more wrestling.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Probably Batista.
Which one?
The song by Saliva.
Okay, so the second one.
Yeah.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Alive and well.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Neither. Any match against Johnny Pierce.
I will accept that answer. New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Well, that's a loaded question. It depends. So I think your level of comfortability, if you got it, flaunt it. And, everybody has their tastes. If your sexual orientation calls for it, do your thing, boo-boo. But you ain't going to find me wearing nothing like that. I can promise you.
Okay, so to each their own.
To each their own. But if the opportunity presents itself in a match with Johnny Pierce, I think we know I'm going to go for it. And I did that with the bike, and I've done it with Bob Evans, and I'll do it again.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
I have never had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin. I don't know where this question comes from. If there's something I don't know about supermarkets and Darby Allin. That being said, he's a great wrestler, sports entertainer, and I probably should go find a random stranger in a supermarket and talk Darby Allin. But no, I have not had the pleasure to do so yet.
And if you do decide to do that, record it and send it to me.
Yeah, I will.
Until then, that is the correct answer.
Yeah.
And that question comes from inside joke between me and my co-host. Where we have
There you go.
Well, we've actually gone into supermarkets and asked random people if they knew who Darby Allin was.
I would assume most people don't, but
No.
they should. You know what I mean? The guy is willing to put himself through just about anything.
Well,
So.
that joke started when AEW just came out. So my co-host was arguing with some fans, and he was like, "If I go into a supermarket, nobody will know who Darby Allin was." And from our little experiment, he was right.
You might have to change that one to going into the supermarket and asking people if they know who Johnny Pierce is, because they probably won't.
Well, we'll stick to Darby Allin. But maybe if we go in your area and ask some people, they might actually know who Johnny Pierce is in a supermarket.
I would hope so.
that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for having me. I'd love to maybe do it again sometime, a couple months down the road, give you guys some more updates. I know you told me I could circle back to some more plugs.
Yes.
So real quickly, tomorrow I'll go up to Bangor, Maine, and work for NAWA. That's Larry Huntley's company, at the Bangor Fair. So anybody in that area can pop out and see some wrestling. Saturday, Green Mountain Wrestling, Granite City Showdown 2 in Barrie, Vermont. I go one-on-one with the old bro, Owen Brody.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm about to shoot a promo for that tonight. I've got a promo all queued up and ready for that. Sunday, back to Bangor for the fair again at NAWA, Larry Huntley. And that's going to finish out the month. August is going to be probably one of the busiest months I've ever had in pro wrestling. And September is looking almost as busy as August and just as busy as July. One thing I will say to anybody in the Dedham, Massachusetts area, if you want to go see NCW Northeast Championship Wrestling, the Big City Rumble is August 30th. That's a Friday. And myself, yours truly, will be a heavy favorite to win the Big City Rumble. The person that wins the Big City Rumble goes on to main event WrestleFest, which is the last Friday in November, the 29th. And Kevin Castro and I have big plans for this year's WrestleFest. So I hope anyone that wants to see what's going to happen can be there to see it live, because it's best when you see it live, right?
Hell yeah. And of course,
so I'm just really appreciative you guys reached out with Wrestling with Entertainment. I'll be sure to share, like, post, comment, and interact with you guys. Very nice of you to have me.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you on. And once again, can you tell us where we can find you on social media?
Yes, to be a little bit more specific, a lot of the handles are at _Johnny_Pierce_. So it's a little bit of a mouthful, and it's kind of annoying to type out the underscores, but each one represents the C, the H, and the T for Cold Hard Truth. So at _Johnny_Pierce_. On Facebook, it's just Johnny Pierce. So yeah, the other ones are for X, which is, formerly known as Twitter,
yes,
TikTok, and Instagram. And then of course, on YouTube, if you just search up Johnny Pierce Wrestling or Johnny Pierce, I have a channel with some of my matches, but most of my matches are via the company, the wrestling company's channel. And that's where you can find me. I do my best to, respond to anyone that reaches out, like fans and whatnot. So if you want to say something to me on there with a direct message, feel free, and I'll do the best I can to get back to you.
And merchandise is on Pro Wrestling Tees, correct?
Yeah, Pro Wrestling Tees, / Johnny Pierce CHT, where most of my designs can be found on there. I got Pierce World Order, PWO, Pierce Mania, that's running wild, baby. And a lot of cool designs on there. I got Pierce City. So yeah, definitely check it out and let me know.
And you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt.
Be the best decision you've ever made in your life.
Hell yeah.
I promise you. All the women will be swooning.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say Wrestling With, you say entertainment, okay?
Deal.
For our special guest Johnny Pierce, Calico Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling With
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.